is the same pitch as a trumpet. It looks almost the same, except the trumpet's longer. If you ever see a trumpet, it comes out about that far. And you don't have trumpets in a brass band, you just have cornets. And part of the reason for that is when you've got a lot of them playing together, they sound a bit more harmonious as a group, cornets do, rather than trumpets. You only see trumpets playing, very often it's just 2 or 3 trumpets. In an orchestra, you typically have 2 or 3 trumpet players playing. They're all the same almost, apart from one little one. And that's John over there. So just show us your little one, John. So if you were to stretch these all out, you'd find that all of these are actually exactly the same length, but John's is slightly shorter. Now that means the shorter the length of the tubing, the higher the instrument plays. Give us something, John, at the high bit. So that's high. You see, these ones can't play quite that high without going exceptionally red. So that's a soprano. And so when you ever hear a band, you hear the very highest notes. That's a soprano. And it's named after the singing voice. You know, when opera sings, the highest voice is known as the soprano voice. Then next, in this side of the band, we've got an instrument that's fairly unique to a brass band, and it's one that Adolf Sax himself actually invented, and this is the tenor horn. So show us your tenor horns. So they are, again, if you were to stretch it all out, they'd be a bit longer than the cornets. So they play a bit lower, and in a brass band, typically you have 3 of those. In the stage performance, because of how it's set up, we just got the 2 today. So, and they play, like I say, slightly lower, playing a pitch called E flat, and that's the E flat tenor horn. You typically only see those really in brass bands, don't you? Not many other ensembles have. You know, in orchestra, you've got the French horns, which are the big curly ones, you put your hand inside. But in a brass band, we have tenor horns. In the middle then, do you want to stand up, Nick, and show us your baritone? Stand up. No, stand up, Nick. This is the baritone. Obviously, as you can see, it's very similar to a tenor horn. Again, the difference is if you were to roll it all out, it's a bit longer again, so they're getting longer. And that's very, very closely related to the euphonium. Do you see the euphonium, guys? They're getting bigger and shinier, as you can see. These are lovely. Now, just out of interest, these instruments, how much did those new ones cost us?
Just over £5,000
each. Yeah. So they're roughly about £5,000 each. You can get them cheaper in case you want to ask your mum and dad for one. They don't have to spend £5,000, but they're like I said, they're the same length of tubing as a baritone, but they've got what's called a wider bore. So although it plays at the same pitch, it plays with a slightly sort of deeper, mellower sound. And people very often compare the euphonium section to like a cellos in an orchestra. They play quite a melodious sort of sound, don't they? Yeah, apart from when our euphonium players play it, but yes. Okay, and on this side of the band, you've got the best instruments of the lot. By far the best ones. You've got the trombones. Now, you may have noticed we're slightly different from the rest of the band in that we don't have any valves. And what I said about the tubing making the difference, we can demonstrate that, because if I was to play a note and then move the slide, you'll hear the tubing extend and the note get lower, so it goes... So you can hear the pitch change as it gets longer. We've got 2 sorts of trombones. This is a tenor trombone, and we have this thing called a plug, which makes you play a bit lower, because when you press that, it gives you a bit more extra tubing, so you can play a bit lower. John has got a bass trombone, which has got lots of extra bits of tubing on it, hasn't it, John?
You can distill whiskey.
Yeah, distill whiskey, yeah. I think he does, but that's the bass trombone, and that's slightly interesting because it plays in a different clef. Everybody else in the band, in music, you have clefs. I'm sure if some of you musicians are aware of the clef. We all play in treble clef, apart from John. He's the odd one out, he plays in bass clef. But we'll forgive him that. So that's a trombone. Thank you, John. Then at the back, we've got the really big boys. Do you want to show us your instruments, guys? That's an E-flat bass. The brass one over there on that side, that's an E-flat bass. Again, it's got even more tubes, that plays even lower. And then this side, the 2 really big boys, Darren and Mike, they play the B-flat bass. And they're the lowest instruments in the band. So if you just stretch them all out, they probably rather go beyond the other side of that stage there. Do you want to give us a low note, guys? But they do play very low. So it's a sort of noise that makes dogs howl, that's the lowest instrument in the band. So that gives you an idea of what the instruments are. obviously that's all the band, that's all the musicians we have in the band, but we have some other members as well, and they sit at the back of the percussion section. So this is Ollie and Jake that play percussion. In a full brass band, we have a huge amount of percussion. So you've got, and what we've got here at the moment is the drum and kit, which typically if you're playing marches and that, you just have a kit. But a lot of the pieces now, we have kettle drums and xylophones and what else? Sorry? Bass drums, yeah, bass drums is great. It's about this big, it's a huge, great big thing. It makes a great sound, doesn't it? So yeah, so they're multi-talented. They play lots and lots of different instruments, but obviously they're all to do with hitting something. So that's the percussion. So that's a quick introduction to the instruments in a brass band.